Overthinking is like a quiet storm that slowly consumes the mind, leaving behind nothing but uncertainty, doubt, and restlessness. It creeps in without warning, turning simple thoughts into endless loops, replaying past events that cannot be changed and imagining futures that may never come. It robs the present moment of its beauty, filling it instead with fear and hesitation. But the mind does not have to be a battlefield. It can be a place of clarity, of calm, of understanding. Buddhism teaches that the mind, when untamed, creates suffering. It pulls us into an illusion of control, making us believe that if we think long enough, if we analyze every possibility, if we replay every mistake, somehow we will find peace. But true peace is not found in thinking, it is found in stillness. The present moment is the only reality, yet so many people live trapped in the past or fearing the future, never fully experiencing the now. Imagine standing on the edge of a river, watching the water flow effortlessly. The river does not try to hold on to the water that has passed, nor does it struggle to grasp what is yet to come. It simply flows, moment by moment. Life is meant to be lived in this same way, not resisting, not grasping, but moving with the natural rhythm of existence. The more you cling to what has already passed, the more you suffer. The more you fear what has yet to come, the more you imprison yourself in a future that does not exist. A Buddhist monk once told his student, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." The student, confused, asked, "But what if the past still haunts me? What if the future fills me with fear?" The monk smiled and pointed to the ground. "You stand here now, not in yesterday, not in tomorrow. Every breath you take, every step you make, happens only in this moment. And in this moment, you are free." Freedom from overthinking begins with this simple truth. The past is gone, the future is unknown, and the only thing that exists is now. When you embrace this, your mind begins to quiet. The noise of regret and anxiety fades, replaced by an awareness that is peaceful, clear, and balanced. But overthinking does not only stem from dwelling in time, it is also fueled by the illusion of control. People struggle against reality, trying to shape it to their will, refusing to accept what is. They replay conversations, wondering how they could have been different. They fear outcomes, believing that worrying enough will somehow change them. But the truth is, control is an illusion. Imagine a person pushing a heavy boulder up a mountain, sweating, exhausted, yet refusing to let go. Every step is harder than the last. Every moment is filled with frustration. But if they stopped pushing, if they simply let the boulder rest, suddenly the struggle would disappear. The mountain remains, the boulder remains, but the suffering is gone. Life is much the same. The things we cannot change, the people we cannot control, the events that have already happened, these are the boulders we push. And the more we push, the more we suffer. But when we accept what is, when we let go of the illusion of control, the weight disappears. Life does not become easier, but our relationship with it changes. A wise monk once said, "Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Pain exists in life. It is part of being human. But suffering comes from the mind's refusal to accept pain. The moment you let go, the moment you stop fighting reality, you become free. Letting go is not weakness, it is strength. It is the power to choose peace over struggle, clarity over chaos. It is understanding that not everything requires your control, not everything needs to be fixed, not everything is yours to carry. And in that understanding, the mind begins to quiet. But there is another source of overthinking that few recognize: complexity. The modern world is filled with distractions, obligations, and expectations. People are taught that happiness comes from achieving more, from doing more, from constantly moving forward. But Buddhism teaches the opposite. Happiness is found in simplicity. A Zen master once said, "The simpler the life, the deeper the meaning." True peace does not come from adding more to your life, but from removing what does not serve you. A cluttered mind is like a cluttered room, filled with unnecessary things, leaving little space for what truly matters. But when you simplify, when you remove the excess, suddenly there is room to breathe. Happiness is not found in the chase, in the struggle, in the endless pursuit of more. It is found in presence, in gratitude, in appreciating what already exists. A quiet morning, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of a loved one. These moments, when truly experienced, bring more peace than any external success ever could. Yet so many people complicate life with unnecessary worries. They stress over things outside of their control, over outcomes they cannot predict, over situations that may never happen. But what if instead they focused only on what truly matters? What if, instead of chasing more, they chose to be fully present in what already is? Buddhism teaches that when you clear the mind, when you remove distractions, when you let go of unnecessary worries, life itself becomes more meaningful. Every action, every breath, every interaction gains depth. You stop overthinking because there is no longer anything unnecessary to think about. You live simply, and in that simplicity you find profound peace. The mind, like a river, is always moving. Thoughts will come and go, emotions will rise and fall. But you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions. You are the awareness beneath them, the stillness that remains even when the storm passes. Imagine sitting beside a river, watching the water flow. Leaves drift by, carried by the current. You do not try to grab them, you do not chase them, you simply watch. This is how thoughts should be treated. They come, they go, but they do not define you. The moment you realize this, overthinking begins to lose its grip. The Buddha once said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." If you fill your mind with chaos, your world will be chaotic. If you feed it with peace, your world will be peaceful. The choice is yours. And so, as you move forward, ask yourself, what can I simplify? What unnecessary burdens am I carrying? What thoughts am I holding on to that no longer serve me? The path to inner peace is not about controlling the mind. It is about understanding it. It is about letting go of what weighs you down, about embracing what is, about finding stillness in a world that is always moving. And in that stillness, you will find something extraordinary. You will find yourself. The weight of overthinking is heavy. It clings to the mind like fog, blurring clarity, distorting reality, and leaving behind only exhaustion. A single thought can multiply, turning into an endless loop of doubt, hesitation, and imaginary scenarios. And yet, for many, it has become second nature, a habit so deeply ingrained that they do not even realize they are caught in it. But what if there was a way to free yourself? A way to silence the endless noise and return to a state of peace? Buddhism teaches that the mind, when left untamed, is like a monkey jumping from branch to branch, restless, impulsive, and always searching for something. It clings to worries, feeds on fears, and creates problems where none exist. But a trained mind is different. It is calm, steady, present. It does not chase thoughts. It observes them. It does not react. It responds with wisdom. Imagine two people standing in the rain. One panics, trying to dodge every drop, frustrated that they are getting wet. The other simply walks, allowing the rain to fall, unaffected. Both are in the same situation, but one suffers while the other remains at peace. This is the difference between an overthinking mind and a mindful one. One resists what is, the other accepts and flows with it. Overthinking is resistance. It is the mind's attempt to grasp control over the uncontrollable, to find certainty in a world that is always changing. But control is an illusion. No matter how much you analyze, plan, or predict, life will unfold as it chooses. The only thing you can truly control is how you respond to it. A Buddhist monk once asked his student, "If a storm comes, will worrying stop the rain?" The student shook his head. "Then why do you worry about things beyond your control?" The monk continued. "Instead of trying to stop the storm, learn to dance in the rain." Acceptance is the antidote to overthinking. The moment you accept what is, you release yourself from unnecessary mental suffering. It does not mean you give up on change. It means you stop fighting reality. You let go of what you cannot control and focus on what you can. But how do you train the mind to stop overthinking? The answer lies in awareness. Most people do not even realize how often they get lost in thought. They move through life on autopilot, reacting to emotions, replaying the past, fearing the future, without ever questioning the process. But when you develop awareness, when you become conscious of your thoughts, you begin to take back control. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, pause. Observe the thought. Ask yourself, is this helpful? Is this thought improving my life, or is it only causing unnecessary stress? If the thought serves no purpose, let it go. Do not engage with it. Do not feed it energy. Simply watch it pass, like a cloud drifting across the sky. A powerful way to strengthen this awareness is through meditation. Many believe that meditation is about emptying the mind, but it is not. It is about learning to observe thoughts without attachment. It is about sitting still, watching the mind, and realizing that thoughts come and go, but they do not define you. If you close your eyes and focus on your breath, thoughts will naturally arise. But instead of reacting to them, simply notice them. Do not judge them. Do not hold on to them. Just let them pass. The more you practice, the more you realize that thoughts are like visitors. They enter and leave, but you do not have to invite them to stay. Another method to break free from overthinking is to shift focus from thinking to doing. Overthinking thrives in stagnation. When the mind is idle, it has the space to create endless worries. But when you engage in action, whether through movement, creativity, or meaningful work, the mind becomes focused, present, and free from the chaos of unnecessary thought. Imagine a river. When water flows, it remains clear, but when it becomes stagnant, it grows murky, filled with debris. The mind is the same. When you remain stuck in thought, it becomes cluttered. But when you engage with life, when you move, create, experience, the mental fog clears. Buddhism teaches the practice of mindful action. Whatever you do, do it with full presence. If you are drinking tea, focus on the warmth of the cup, the taste of the liquid, the way it moves as you swallow. If you are walking, feel each step, the way your body moves, the air against your skin. This practice pulls you out of the mind and into the present moment, where overthinking cannot survive. Another major cause of overthinking is the fear of making mistakes. People hesitate, overanalyze, and second-guess themselves, believing that every decision must be perfect. But perfection is an illusion. There is no perfect choice, no perfect path, no way to avoid every mistake. The greatest minds in history have failed more times than they succeeded. The difference is that they did not let failure stop them. They learned, they adapted, they continued forward. A young monk once asked his master, "How can I be certain that I am making the right choices in life?" The master smiled and replied, "You cannot, but it is better to walk the wrong path with awareness than to stand still in fear." Fear of mistakes keeps people trapped in overthinking. But the truth is, action teaches you more than analysis ever could. Life is not meant to be planned in perfect detail. It is meant to be experienced. Some lessons can only be learned by doing. The mind will always offer doubts. It will always create what-ifs. But you do not have to listen. Trust yourself. Take a step, even if it is small. Move forward, even if the path is unclear. With each step, clarity comes. With each action, confidence grows. And finally, the most powerful way to quiet the mind is gratitude. Overthinking often stems from focusing on what is missing, what could go wrong, what is lacking. But when you shift your focus to what is already here, something extraordinary happens. The mind settles. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It is a practice of presence. It is a way of training the mind to recognize abundance instead of lack. Instead of thinking about what you do not have, focus on what you do. Instead of worrying about what might go wrong, acknowledge what is already right. Every day, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you are grateful for. They do not have to be grand. Even small things, a kind word, a moment of peace, the ability to breathe, are gifts. The more you focus on gratitude, the more you train your mind to find peace in the present rather than stress in the future. Overthinking is a habit, but so is mindfulness. The more you practice presence, acceptance, and gratitude, the more natural they become. The mind will always try to wander, but now you know how to bring it back. And as you continue on this path, you will notice a change. The endless loops of thought will begin to quiet. The worries will lose their grip. The chaos will fade, replaced by something greater: clarity, strength, peace. This is the power of mastering the mind. Not eliminating thoughts, but learning to navigate them. Not escaping life's challenges, but facing them with wisdom. Not controlling the world, but understanding that true control lies within. The mind is a powerful tool, but for many, it has become their greatest source of suffering. Overthinking is like a tangled web. One thought connects to another, then another, until suddenly there is no way out. It turns small worries into massive problems, simple decisions into impossible dilemmas, and the present moment into a prison of regret and fear. But there is a way to escape this endless cycle, to take back control and train the mind to work for you, not against you. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not caused by events themselves, but by our attachment to them. Most people do not realize that their suffering comes not from the outside world, but from the thoughts they attach to it. A setback is just a setback, until the mind turns it into failure. A moment of uncertainty is just a moment, until the mind turns it into fear. Words are just words, until the mind turns them into wounds. But what if you could break free? What if, instead of being consumed by your thoughts, you could observe them with clarity, without allowing them to dictate your emotions? This is the essence of mental mastery, to see thoughts for what they are, just thoughts, nothing more. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. A thought appears. It tells you that you are not good enough, that you will fail, that you should be afraid. Most people accept this reflection as truth. They believe every thought, take every worry seriously, allow every negative belief to shape their reality. But the wise person steps back. They look at the thought and ask, is this true? Is this helpful? Does this thought serve me? And if the answer is no, they let it go. This is how you begin to untangle the web of overthinking, by questioning your thoughts instead of obeying them. Most thoughts are not facts. They are opinions, conditioned responses, echoes of past experiences. Just because the mind creates a thought does not mean it is real. Learning to separate yourself from your thoughts is one of the greatest skills you can develop. A Buddhist monk once told his students, The mind is like a storyteller. It tells endless tales, but not all are true. Do not believe every story you hear. The next time you catch yourself lost in overthinking, pause. Ask yourself, is this thought useful? Is it based on reality, or is it just a story my mind is telling me? By doing this, you break the habit of unconscious thinking and replace it with conscious awareness. But breaking free from overthinking is not just about questioning thoughts. It is also about learning to return to the present. The mind loves to live in the past, replaying old mistakes, regrets, and painful memories, or it leaps into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, building fear around things that have not even happened. But neither the past nor the future exists. The only thing that is real is this moment, right now. A Zen master once asked his student, "Where are you right now?" The student replied, "Sitting in front of you, master." The master nodded. "Then why does your mind wander elsewhere? Your body is here, but your thoughts are not. Bring them home." This practice, bringing your thoughts back to the present, is one of the most powerful ways to silence overthinking. When you catch yourself lost in past regrets or future worries, gently bring yourself back. Focus on your breath. Feel your body. Notice the world around you. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. A simple yet powerful way to train the mind to stay present is through mindfulness exercises. When eating, truly taste your food. When walking, feel each step. When talking to someone, listen fully. This not only quiets overthinking, but also deepens your experience of life. Instead of being trapped in thought, you become fully engaged with the world. Another source of overthinking is the need for certainty. The mind wants answers, solutions, guarantees. It wants to know how everything will unfold, to be sure of every outcome before taking action. But life does not work this way. The future is always uncertain. No amount of thinking can change this. Overcoming this need for certainty is a powerful step toward inner peace. Buddhism teaches the concept of impermanence. Everything changes. Nothing is fixed. When you embrace this truth, you stop fearing the unknown. Instead of overanalyzing every possibility, you learn to trust yourself, to move forward even without having all the answers. A monk once told his students, "When you step onto a path at night, you cannot see the whole journey ahead. But you do not need to. All you need is enough light for the next step." The same is true in life. You do not need to know the whole future. You only need to focus on what is in front of you. A powerful way to release the fear of uncertainty is through surrender. Not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of trusting life. When you stop resisting the unknown and instead flow with it, you find freedom. You begin to see that no matter what happens, you will adapt, you will grow, you will learn, and that realization dissolves the need to overthink. Another major reason people overthink is the fear of making mistakes. They hesitate, analyze endlessly, and avoid decisions out of fear of failure. But mistakes are not the enemy. Fear of making them is. Mistakes are how we learn, how we grow, how we become wiser. The most successful, fulfilled people are not those who avoid failure, but those who embrace it as part of the journey. A student once asked a Zen master, "What if I choose the wrong path?" The master smiled and said, "Then you will learn, and learning is never the wrong path." Overthinking paralyzes action. It makes people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect level of confidence before they begin. But perfection does not exist, and the longer you wait, the more you delay your own growth. If you struggle with indecision, try this. Instead of analyzing endlessly, set a time limit for your decision. Give yourself a day, an hour, or even just a minute to decide. Then trust your choice. Move forward. Adjust as needed. But do not stay stuck. A great way to overcome the habit of overthinking is by simplifying your life. Overthinking thrives in complexity. Too many choices, too many distractions, too many commitments. But when you simplify, the mind becomes clear. Declutter your space. Remove unnecessary commitments. Focus on what truly matters. The simpler your life, the less there is to overthink. Another powerful way to quiet the mind is through daily reflection. Instead of letting thoughts spiral out of control, give them a space to be acknowledged and released. Journaling is a great practice for this. Each day, take a few minutes to write down your thoughts, your worries, your questions, your insights. Putting thoughts on paper helps the mind process them, making them feel less overwhelming. And finally, cultivate the habit of gratitude. Overthinking often comes from focusing on what is wrong, what is missing, what could go badly. But gratitude shifts the mind to what is good, what is present, what is already enough. Each day, list 3 things you are grateful for. They can be small: sunlight, a kind word, a moment of peace. This simple practice rewires the brain to focus on abundance rather than lack. Overthinking is a habit, but so is inner peace. The more you practice awareness, presence, and gratitude, the stronger they become. The mind will always generate thoughts. That is its nature. But you do not have to be ruled by them. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, and in that awareness, you will find something greater than overthinking. You will find peace. The mind, when left unchecked, becomes a maze, an endless loop of what-ifs, regrets, and imagined scenarios. Overthinking pulls you into this maze, making every decision feel like a burden, every challenge seem larger than it is, and every moment of stillness feel unbearable. But once you learn to step outside of this mental prison, you realize something profound. Life was never meant to be this complicated. The struggle was never with the world. It was always within the mind. And once you take back control, everything changes. One of the most powerful realizations on this journey is that clarity does not come from thinking more. It comes from thinking less. The mind, like a glass of water, becomes murky when constantly stirred. But when left still, the dirt settles and the water becomes clear. This is what happens when you stop over-analyzing and instead allow things to unfold naturally. A Zen monk once said, "The mind is like the sky. Thoughts are just clouds passing through. Do not chase them. Do not hold on to them. Just watch them drift away." Overthinking happens when you forget this truth. You chase every thought, hold on to every worry, analyze every possibility. But the more you engage with thoughts, the more power they have over you. True peace is found in observing without attachment. Let thoughts come and go, but do not let them control you. One of the most effective ways to break free from overthinking is to shift from thinking to doing. Many people remain stuck in endless loops of thought, believing that if they analyze enough, they will find the perfect answer. But the truth is, action brings clarity. You do not figure things out by sitting still. You figure them out by moving forward. A student once asked his master, "What if I do not know which path to take?" The master replied, "Then take a step. The path will reveal itself." Waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, the perfect level of confidence only leads to stagnation. Life does not reward overthinking. It rewards action. Even if you make mistakes, even if things do not go as planned, you will gain experience, learn, and grow. The mind will always present doubts. It will always ask, "What if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I am not ready?" But instead of fighting these doubts, recognize them for what they are, just thoughts, not truth. The moment you stop letting them dictate your actions, you reclaim your freedom. Another powerful practice for quieting the mind is breath awareness. The breath is always in the present. It does not belong to the past or the future. It exists only in the now. When you focus on your breath, you anchor yourself in the moment, pulling yourself out of the maze of overthinking. Try this. Whenever your mind begins to spiral, pause. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, then slowly exhale. Focus only on the sensation of the breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your lungs. Each time your mind drifts, gently bring it back. The more you practice this, the more control you develop over your thoughts. Breath awareness is a simple yet powerful way to create space between you and your thoughts. Instead of being caught in them, you become the observer. And the moment you shift into observation, the thoughts lose their grip. Another cause of overthinking is the need for approval. Many people analyze every action, every word, every choice, out of fear of what others will think. They seek validation, fearing rejection or criticism, but this need for approval is a trap. No matter what you do, people will always have opinions. Some will agree with you, some will not. Some will understand you, some will judge. This is simply the nature of the world. A monk once said, "You can be the ripest, juiciest fruit, and still someone will dislike fruit." Once you accept that you cannot control how others perceive you, you are free. You no longer shape your decisions based on what will be accepted. You shape them based on what is true to you. You stop overthinking conversations, choices, and interactions because you no longer need to please everyone. The only approval that truly matters is your own. When you live in alignment with your values, when you are honest with yourself, when your actions come from a place of truth rather than fear, peace follows naturally. Another way to silence overthinking is through simplicity. The modern world encourages complexity, more choices, more distractions, more information. But complexity leads to stress. It clutters the mind, making every decision feel overwhelming. Buddhism teaches that simplicity is the key to peace. The simpler your life, the clearer your mind. Look around you. How much of what you own, what you do, what you worry about, is truly necessary? Declutter your space. Simplify your schedule. Remove commitments that do not serve you. The less mental and physical clutter you have, the more space you create for peace. A simple life is not an empty life. It is a meaningful one. It is a life where you focus only on what truly matters, where you remove everything unnecessary, leaving only what brings you joy and fulfillment. Another powerful realization on this journey is that happiness is not found in achieving more, but in appreciating what already exists. Overthinking often comes from focusing on what is missing, what could go wrong, what needs to be fixed, what is not yet perfect. But when you shift your focus to gratitude, the mind quiets. Gratitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about recognizing the good that already exists. Each day, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you are grateful for. They do not have to be grand. Even small things, a peaceful morning, a kind gesture, a simple meal, hold immense value. The more you practice gratitude, the more you train your mind to focus on abundance rather than lack. Overthinking is a habit, but so is inner peace. The more you practice presence, simplicity, gratitude, and action, the stronger these habits become. The mind will always generate thoughts. That is its nature. But you do not have to be controlled by them. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And the moment you realize this, overthinking begins to lose its power. You no longer live in the past or fear the future. You no longer chase control over what cannot be controlled. You no longer seek validation from those who do not understand you. Instead, you live fully, freely, and in alignment with your truth. This is what it means to be truly free, not to escape thought, but to rise above it. Not to eliminate challenge, but to meet it with wisdom. Not to silence the mind, but to master it. And once you master your mind, you master your life. Because peace was never something to be found, it was something to be created. The journey of mastering the mind is not about eliminating thoughts, but about transforming the way you interact with them. Overthinking is not the presence of thoughts, it is the attachment to them, the endless analysis, the hesitation, the doubts that keep you frozen in place. But once you learn to observe your thoughts without becoming entangled in them, a shift begins. You start to see that you were never trapped. The only thing keeping you stuck was the belief that you had no choice but to listen to every thought your mind produced. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a garden. If you neglect it, weeds grow, thoughts of doubt, fear, regret. But if you cultivate it with care, you can plant seeds of wisdom, peace, and clarity. The mind, like any garden, must be tended to daily. The more you practice awareness, the more you become selective about which thoughts you water and which ones you allow to wither away. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is understanding that you do not have to engage with every thought that arises. Most people believe that because a thought appears, they must entertain it. But thoughts are like visitors at your door. Some bring value, wisdom, and growth. Others bring confusion, stress, and distraction. You decide which ones to invite in and which ones to let pass. A monk once told his student, "Imagine you are sitting by the road, watching people walk by. Some are kind, some are lost, some are troubled. You do not stop every person. You do not try to hold on to them. You simply observe. Treat your thoughts the same way." Overthinking happens when you try to control every thought, when you hold on to them tightly instead of letting them move naturally. The key is to observe without attachment. When a thought arises, ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Does it bring clarity or confusion? Does it serve my growth or hinder it? If the thought is unnecessary, let it go. Do not resist it. Do not fight it. Just allow it to drift away. Another way to free yourself from overthinking is to embrace imperfection. Many people overanalyze because they fear making mistakes. They hesitate to take action, to speak their truth, to make decisions, believing that everything must be flawless. But perfection is an illusion. No choice is ever perfect. No moment is ever completely predictable. And that is the beauty of life. It is meant to be experienced, not controlled. A student once asked his master, "How do I make the perfect decision?" The master replied, "By making a decision and learning from it." Growth does not come from always choosing correctly. It comes from choosing, experiencing, adjusting, and continuing forward. The only true mistake is staying stuck, letting fear of imperfection stop you from moving. Life is a constant process of refinement. You will never have all the answers, but you do not need to. All you need is the willingness to take the next step. And when fear arises, as it inevitably will, do not see it as a barrier. See it as an invitation. Fear is not a sign that you should stop. It is a signal that you are stepping into something new, something that challenges you, something that can lead to growth. The strongest people are not those without fear, but those who have learned to walk through it. One of the greatest skills you can develop is the ability to remain calm in uncertainty. Overthinking thrives in the need for control, in the desperate attempt to predict every outcome. But life does not offer guarantees. No matter how much you analyze, no matter how much you plan, the future will always hold unknowns. The more you resist this truth, the more you suffer. But what if, instead of fearing uncertainty, you embraced it? What if, instead of trying to predict every outcome, you trusted yourself to handle whatever comes? The mind clings to overthinking as a way to feel safe, but true safety does not come from endless analysis. It comes from confidence in your ability to adapt. A wise teacher once said, "You do not need to see the whole path. You only need to see the next step." If you ever feel stuck in overthinking, remind yourself, you do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to figure out everything at once. All you need to do is take the next step, and the rest will reveal itself in time. Another way to quiet the mind is through deep presence. Overthinking is fueled by distraction, by thinking about the past, the future, and everything except the present moment. But when you fully engage with what is in front of you, the mind naturally quiets. Try this. Whatever you're doing, do it fully. If you're drinking tea, feel the warmth of the cup in your hands. Taste the flavor. Notice the sensation of each sip. If you are walking, feel each step. Listen to the sounds around you. Be aware of your breath. The more you practice presence, the less space there is for overthinking. And when challenges arise, instead of fearing them, meet them with curiosity. Overthinking often comes from assuming the worst, from believing that difficulties are signs of failure. But what if instead you saw them as teachers? Every challenge, every setback, every difficult moment carries a lesson. The question is not, "Why is this happening to me?" but, "What can I learn from this?" A master once told his student, "When an obstacle appears, do not ask how to remove it. Ask how to grow stronger because of it." This shift in mindset changes everything. You stop fearing difficulties and start using them as stepping stones. You stop overthinking what could go wrong and instead focus on how you can grow, no matter what happens. And finally, one of the most powerful ways to silence overthinking is gratitude. The mind tends to focus on problems, on what is missing, on what could go wrong. But gratitude shifts the focus to what is already here, to what is good, to what is enough.